Hi guys, we're now going to have a look at the presentation around Articulate, Present and Debate Ideas, which is BSBCRT401. Learning outcomes of this unit include 1. Identifying the enabling skills and attributes of individuals who can effectively participate in discussions about ideas. 2. Explore the use of different techniques to engage, fascinate, and involve others in the process of communication and exchange. 3. Identify and participate in conversations that challenge and explore different concepts and approaches and generate new ideas. Contents for this unit include analyze ideas for communication to others, provoke response and reaction, debate and discuss ideas. Introduction to this unit. This unit describes the skills and knowledge required to articulate, present and debate ideas in a work or broader life context using creative techniques in order to provoke response, reaction and critical discussion. This unit applies to individuals who contribute to present ideas that may be complex in nature and may relate to new products, services, processes, and creative works using a degree of risk-taking and storytelling. So let's start with a little pre-quiz. Quick true or false. First question. Pre-fail evaluation is one of the methods that is used to evaluate ideas. 2. Closed questions yield lots of information because they allow people to explain what they think is most important or interesting and encourage elaboration. 3. Storytelling is one of the techniques to engage an audience. So let's see how you went. False. Pre-fail evaluation is not one of the methods to use to evaluate ideas. 2. How'd you go? True or false? False. Closed questioning doesn't allow for elaboration. It's more open questioning techniques that allow for that type of method. Now, how'd you go with question 3? True. Storytelling is one of the techniques to engage an audience, and an effective one at that. Okay, so let's start off with analysing ideas for communication with others. Now, bear in mind that we've already had a look at make a presentation, which involves a lot of techniques and concepts around communication. So these two units are actually very similar. However, we're still going to have a look at these different concepts and really allow us to dig a little deeper in concept generation and elaboration of ideas and processes and evaluation. So in most medium to large businesses, however, a structured evaluation process is necessary in order to identify the ideas that are most likely to succeed in innovation for the company. Helps to ensure that complex ideas are reviewed by people with the appropriate expertise necessary to understand what would be necessary for the implementation of the idea, and then to anticipate, what might go wrong. It helps to enable the middle manager to defend the ideas of senior management, stakeholders, and financial officers who may need to grant budgetary approval for ideas. Also helps to make it possible to review a large number of ideas in a resource-efficient manner. So rather than not waste time on looking at all ideas, we need to have a process of elimination. Improve the idea by identifying potential implementation problems and preparing suitable actions to overcome those problems. Sadly, this is the last aspect, is most often lost in formal idea review process. So what are some of these methods that we might use to analyze or evaluate ideas? So let's have a look at our methods to analyze and evaluate ideas. So you can use a method such as pass-fail evaluation. For example, if there's a large number of ideas that need to be reviewed, for instance, if you run a company-wide ideas campaign on a popular issue and have generated hundreds of ideas, a simple pass-fail evaluation is often essential to bring the idea pool down to a manageable level rather than looking at every single idea. Another method may be the SWOT analysis. Now, if you're taking notes on today's lesson, please take into consideration that SWOT analysis is a term that will be used in a lot of detail for your Diploma of Marketing and Communication course. So please make note of this. It is essential that you understand this concept. And SWOT analysis basically is the analysis of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And it is an old marketing standby, and as such is a useful follow-up for the evaluation matrix. In the unlikely event that you are unfamiliar with SWOT analysis, it is a simple form in which reviewers indicate the potential strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of an idea. Because the SWOT analysis looks at an idea from different perspectives, it provides a more, what we say, rounded review of an idea than some methods. Idea development. Once an idea passes these initial hurdles, it may be ready for implementation or it may require more detailed testing. Phase of the review or review development, as it is no longer a process of evaluating the idea so much as a method to develop it for implementation. An idea development may include business case preparation, prototype development, project management initiation, or test marketing. Now let's have a look at these two concepts, criticism versus improvement. Business analysts tend to be overly critical of new ideas. This is understandable. They are tasked with managing and minimizing risk. The creative ideas tend to be the riskiest. As a result, many evaluators stress weakness and threats. On one hand, this is understandable. However, again, we still need to marry some sort of a balance between the two. Communicating ideas effectively. Now, it is clear to be a highly effective organization, one must understand the employee mindset, which is critical for communication to be effective, the focus on the behavior that gets the desired results. Communicating ideas effectively. So let's have a look at these key points. First off, present single ideas. A single idea or a series of thoughts presented in a logical sequence is much easier for some audience to understand and follow. So if you're in a meeting and you are brainstorming and sharing ideas, taking one idea step by step at the time and also showing the logical sequence will help people to understand the concepts or the ideas that you are presenting. Another point, get people to buy off on one idea before presenting another. Presenting, explaining, teaching, or selling something has a logical sequence. Remember, information giving must follow the laws of logic built into the human brain. People need time to absorb and digest your ideas before moving on or ahead. If you practice a random scatter sequence of presenting your ideas, you'll lose your audience. Now, also, you must take into consideration each culture or who your audience is that you are presenting your ideas to. For example, I've had quite a bit of experience in teaching and training in remote Indigenous communities. Now, when I'm teaching in these communities, I understand the cultural awareness of that particular community group. And I know that in order to generate ideas and learning and make it effective for the learners that are in the room, I must allow time for absorbing the information and digesting it. So, in some cases, when I'm teaching in remote communities, I may draw out the delivery times and really focus on each point by point in what seems to be a slower process. But again, I'm catering to that particular community group or that particular culture. So you must be very aware of that. Another technique is to be specific. People need to know what to expect in order to get involved and interested in what you have to say. Telling them your idea in great detail, if the situation or presentation warrants great amounts of detail information being shared, helps them to understand. Tell them the whole idea first, so whatever specific information that follows can be related back to the whole idea. Responding to emotions. Be aware that different emotions presented during presentations of your ideas may arise. There are emotions of the presenter, the audience, the issues surrounding any new ideas, suggest changes to the status quo. So you have to be very aware of this whenever you are in discussions and presenting new ideas. Share yourself. You are being asked by someone who wants to share an idea because you have something important to say. The best style is the one which is the most natural and comfortable for you. Only you can say it in your own style. Be yourself and let your unique personality come through. Do not try and imitate or act like someone else. The audience is interested in you and your idea, so don't sway from that. Be you. The next part is know what you want to say. If the order of your presentation is clearly explained, easy to follow, then your listeners will absorb the information and your ideas better. If your idea is not explained well or easy to follow, then listeners will be spending their time figuring out where you're going with this, what you are doing, and how all the pieces fit together. And when will it end? People have a very short attention span. Use their time and your time wisely. So know what you want to say. Do your research, practice, make it more fluent. This is a very good tip. Use language common to your audience. Again, as we rehashed in Make a Presentation, we're talking a lot about understanding your audience. So the same goes in this unit with these similar concepts. You must understand your audience and use language to suit. So much of what we want to say is determined not by what we say, but how we say it. Language differs from region to region, city to city, nation to nation, from professional groups to professional groups. It is important to remember how to use your words, phrases, or the systematics of words that can be different. Ideas that are more effectively conveyed to an audience are the ones that match up the culture of the meeting, the use of appropriate language, and the avoidance of acronyms. And if you are going to use acronyms, make sure that you explain each letter. Involve your audience. New ideas are usually met with some degree of skepticism and even resistance. One technique in which is very effective for overcoming these problems is actively involving your audience. Merely talking to your audience does not always help them to identify or empathize with a new idea. Many times an audience needs to experience or feel a stimulation of your idea, where practical, before a full adoption of your idea becomes a reality. Now, the same with make a presentation is also the same with articulate, present, and debate ideas. Get feedback. As new ideas incubate and develop and test for their merit, worth, or application, it is so very important to gain the opinions of others. Others may have thought of a similar idea at one time but never expressed it openly to anyone else because they thought it was a dumb or stupid idea themselves or feared being ridiculed. So always get that feedback. Be a good listener. This is such an effective tool for good communication skills. In presenting a new idea, we usually start out trying to listen. However, interruptions seem to detract from our focus. Being a good listener means staying open to any and all comments about your idea. Avoid the shutdown tendency just because someone else has altered or changed or improved upon your idea. Listening is an active pursuit. Very different to just hearing something, but really listening and taking it on board. Okay, skills and attributes of people needed to effectively discuss ideas. We were talking about learning to listen. Again, it's different from hearing people. Being able to listen really helps to understand what somebody else is saying, take it on board, and then really open up that effective communication. Being aware of other people's emotions, empathizing, and encouraging as well. Conversational skills. When engaging in effective conversation or group discussions, you need to use appropriate phrases and vocabulary to present and support your opinions, comments, and clarify and ask questions. You need these phrases to help you practice efficient negotiation through discussions of complex ideas. Effective speaking. Present a clear point of view. Speak clearly. Clarify meaning by repeating and/or rewording. Allow others to present their points of view. Use proper sentence structure and pronunciation. Use appropriate references and conjunctions to link ideas together. So here's some techniques to really engage your audience. Remember language and choice of words, analogies and metaphors, using stories, really fabulous way to engage your audience. Humour and also visual aids. Remember, we looked at visual aids in Make a Presentation, so you can adapt those concepts here as well. To elaborate on on how to engage your audience, use open questions. Open question yields a lot of information because they allow a person to explain what they think is most important or interesting and encourages elaboration. Probing questions are those that relate to a topic we want to explore further. They encourage the speaker to flesh out the details. Open versus closed question examples. Probing questions. Can you be more specific? Can you give me an example of that? What happened then? How does this affect you? What might have caused this? And storytelling and anecdotes. So let's have a look at storytelling. What is storytelling? Storytelling is our oldest art form. It stimulates the imagination and builds a sense of community between tellers and listeners. Stories are everywhere, in newspapers, books, on TV and the internet. Everyday conversation is full of anecdotes and real-life stories. Storytelling helps us to understand our environment and personal experiences. Storytelling is also used and embedded into so many cultures across the world. So take a moment, have a listen to a great story. Key storytelling techniques. The use of data and statistics and research when you're telling a story. At Stanford University, they found that statistics combined with stories have a retention rate of 65 to 70%. That's insane. So here you can see how data and statistics is so more effective. We have a clear structure in mind. Don't walk into a story this one time at band camp because your audience are not going to care. You have to think about stories that work. What sparks a story? What's the up and down? What's the climax of your story? Tie your story into a larger point. Don't just tell a story of the time you had a drink at a bar and the drink was delicious. Tell a story of the time that you had a drink in a bar and the drink was delicious because your hometown has some of the best bartenders in the state. Make your story relatable. Use language, settings, characters, characterizations that people can resonate with. Maybe you didn't just go to the bar. Maybe you went to the bar because it was one of those hot nights last summer where the whole city was lit up. Techniques to tailor comments. Specify specific ways to provoke and engage responses from particular audiences. As discussed earlier, it is important to pay attention to particular audiences because we need to bring engaging techniques to different people, different backgrounds and scenarios. So contextualize your message to suit your audience. When we focus on our audience and their interests, we are able to identify what will probably be the most engaging and provoking to them in communication. For example, if you're trying to discuss issues and communicate ideas about the environment, and what we can do. Try a young audience in primary school. You might focus on simpler ideas like tree planting, recycling programs, which are accessible ideas to young children and are easy ideas for them to act on. To a more mature, middle-aged audience, you might focus on more politically motivated ideas, actions related to environmental action, such as law and legislation, as this audience is more likely to be interested in ideas that affect society on a greater scale. Could also, in this particular topic, talk about businesses and how they can be more sustainable. All right, how to create an idea web. First, choose a main topic or idea. Then write a word or two to describe the idea in the middle or at the top of the blank piece of paper. Draw a circle around it. Draw branches or lines that connect the main idea to related ideas, concepts, topics, examples. The list goes on. Draw circles around them also. Repeat the process with each new circle until you can't continue any further and you've actually formed a web. Go through the ideas and decide which ones are important or highlighted, which ones can be eliminated, crossed out, which ones are linked, drawing additional lines to show joining ideas, which ones can be modified, so on and so forth. Use a mind map to organize complex ideas. So here's some tips. Color code your thoughts and ideas. Use images, illustrations and icons, and collaborate with partners. You can use certain software as well, and here's some mind mapping examples. This concludes the presentation component of Articulate, Present and Debate Ideas. If you'd like more information or if you need to communicate with your trainer, my name is Siani Martin. I'm going to be your support trainer for the marketing induction. My email address is c.martin@envirotech.edu.au, so you can access it here.